Welcome to the podcast with BlackPage. And I have to say, before we even start this, so sorry I'm late. Like, people have to know that punctuality is key, and I didn't have the key today. I just did not have the key. But anyway, welcome Fanele Mthembu and Lee Cuthbert. You guys have graced us with your presence in Mpophomeni, and I'm really honored to have you guys actually coming through and having this conversation with me on intergenerational communication. And I think this just explains it. You guys, you two, just explain the topic of today so perfectly.
We're happy to be here. Absolutely.
And before we even get to anything, can you just give us a little intro on, can I start with you, Lee?
Yeah.
And just tell us a bit more about Lee, man.
A bit more about me.
Like childhood.
Pretty much a working class childhood. Some might then say that we graduated into more of a middle class sort of childhood. Fortunate to be sent off to a private boarding school in the UK. So my education was paid for, probably squandered, most would say. And then I got into working in the corporate world very quickly. Started working for an organisation called TNT. Eventually became FedEx a few years ago. 2016 I think it was now. So I've spent 30 years in corporate, starting at ground zero, working my way up to vice president inside of Europe with FedEx, specifically in sales. And made a decision a couple of years ago that needed to get out of corporate, needed to do something different. It wasn't always about the money. It should be more about helping people, and I think that that's where the essence of me comes from. So we made a decision, my South African wife and I, to move back to South Africa. And some people ask me, why did we make that decision? I said, well, dead easy. Three things. Number one, I know the corruption within inside of the government, but that happens everywhere in the world. Number two, I could actually get more bang for my buck living in this country, because it's about 40% cheaper to live here than it is in the UK. And number three, the weather's a hell of a lot better than the UK. So that's a little bit about me. What do I do now? Online management coaching, but also integrate myself, I suppose, into society in the township of Mpophomeni through people like yourself, and seeing what I can do to help.
Okay.
That's it.
Sorry, before we move on to Fanele, please, man, tell me, how was boarding school?
Hated every minute of it, pretty much. No, it's not quite true. I didn't want to go in the first place. Made the best of a bad thing. But am I in touch with people from boarding school that I was educated with, as most people are from high school, where you create your friends? No, not really. So it probably just taught me more about how to be independent than anything else.
Yeah, okay. And are the rumors true about these, what do you call it, boarding schools? Like there's rumors about boarding schools that we have in SA. You don't come out there and say, no, I'm gonna come out.
It's like jail.
Yeah, it's like jail. I'm not gonna come out there and say.
I can't speak for South Africa. I can only speak from my experience. I can't speak for anybody else's. It just wasn't what I wanted. But you know, it's what my parents wanted for me. Am I thankful that I got given that opportunity? In some respects, yes, I am, because it pretty much created the independent person that I am now. Did I fight the system? Pretty much. That's pretty much what I've always done as an adult as well, fight the system. Did it teach me anything? Independence. But I can't speak for South Africa.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you very much, Lee. Mr. Mthembu,
hey,
over to you, man. So same thing, just give it a little more about who you are, your childhood. Can't say early 20s because you're still there.
I'm still young. Okay, from my side, my name is Fanele Mthembu. I went for primary, I went to Mercuston Primary in Pietermaritzburg. Thereafter I had the opportunity to go to St. Charles College, which is one of the top high schools in South Africa. And I'm grateful for that experience because, you know, it taught me actually both sides of the spectrum. I was exposed to a multiracial school, not just, one-sided opinion. So I got to learn how to socialize and network with people, which is a powerful skill that I took out of it that I'm using now. In my industry, I need people. Without people, I don't have an industry. You see. Background, childhood, I was born in Richards Bay and moved to PMB in grade 1. And then I've been here throughout. After high school, I went to UKZN in Pietermaritzburg. I spent most of my career in PMB. There I finished my degree, and now I'm working for government and doing my side hustle as well, which is something that I take. It's almost like my child. I don't have a child, but that's my child.
That's your baby.
And I'm in an industry where I'm always looking for opportunity, especially technological advancements. I'm always looking for solutions. How can we use technology to better our lives here in SA? Because at times I notice that there's that gap that we're behind, in terms of we catch up to things later on, not just movies, but technology and everything. So I'm always looking to bring, that's cool, I've learned something new, how can I implement it here in South Africa in my own locale, PMB, KZN. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just going to ask a little random question like I did with Lee. Well, Lee said he still uses some of the connections that he learned, that he got together when he was still in high school. Would you say you do the same as well? Do you still, are you still in communication with some of the people that you were in St. Charles with?
Most definitely.
How have they helped you out on your road, maybe with the government job or with the side hustle that you do for your baby?
Most definitely.
Man, give us the name of your baby, because that baby is growing. I was like, what, how many years is it?
It's since 2017. It's called 95 Agency. Reason why is that I was going through a time where I wanted something that encapsulates me and my idea, like my sort of thought process. I could have used any generic name. I've been helping people register companies, go for that name, go for that. But here I wanted something personal, that this needs to speak. If someone sees this brand, it translates the idea, the person, the vision behind it. Hence why I get so shocked when people are like, if your brand is there, we're going to that event. Or I have this as my wallpaper on my phone, this logo. A logo that I just did myself, and I put a 9 and a 5.
It's interesting.
And it became such a simple but powerful thing, and it's working well for me. And to answer the question of things that I learned, are they still helping me? Yes, they are. I was given opportunities in high school to run things like the basketball department. I was a manager for it, while still being a student, but I was entrusted with that responsibility. And that taught me organization. Eventually it made me a prefect also, but it taught me responsibility, organization, and how to make things happen. And I still use that now. Hence why people come to me and say, I need someone who will make things happen. And it's not just people who are young or in my close circle. Word of mouth is powerful, because I end up having 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds come to me that I heard you make things happen. Yeah, so that's how it helps.
So basically you were the school police.
The friendly police.
Yeah, the friendly police. It's like, now weird.
It's I still use that even now. It's that discipline of doing things, when you want something to become a tangible idea, not just an idea to actually happen, it requires discipline. And whatever you want to do in life, if you have an idea and you want to implement it, you need the discipline to do it.
Okay.
And
thank you very much, Fanele. And back to Mr. Cuthbert on the side here. Hey, this man has
a wealth of experience.
He has some years of this man.
55 versus what, 28?
28.
So, tell us a bit more about your time in corporate, man. How was the climb and the process of the climb? How did you actually climb up that ladder?
So I think for me it comes down to, and we've already touched on one of those things with your development of your business, and that is about you've got to be disciplined.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
But before you get disciplined, you've got to be disciplined for something. So I always used to set myself goals. And that goal was why I existed. So what was it I wanted to do? So my first goal was I want to work at a head office and I want to work on strategy. And we can get into the whys and the wherefores, but that was my goal. And to do that, I need to remain focused, and I need to remain disciplined, and I needed to do the right things at the right time in order to get to where I wanted to be. So that's all I did. I practiced it. I practiced those things. It was purely understanding where I wanted to go, and then being disciplined and focused enough to stay in the course to achieving what I set out to achieve. So climbing the corporate ladder was all about that. I think the other thing with climbing the corporate ladder that you really need to understand is things have changed. Before it used to be very much command and control about, you get told what to do. Over the years, things are now changing and now coming around to more of a case of most big businesses are realizing that you need to empower your people in order to deliver what needs to be delivered in the right way, because no one person is more intelligent than a whole group. So for me, it now comes down to the fact that within inside of the corporate world, the other way to get on is not just to suck up to leadership, but what you've got to do is you've got to be there for everybody, and you've got to try and do things in the right way for the right reasons. So again, it comes back to purpose. So I think that to climb the corporate ladder for me, the way that I did it was work hard, have a vision, stay focused on that vision, be disciplined in how I got there, and try not to hurt anybody along the way. But I'm fairly sure I hurt people because of how I used to be. But you then adapt. If you realise that that's something that's wrong, you try and adapt. So I hope that what I've also done is I've adapted, but I haven't lost myself. So climbing the corporate ladder, focus, discipline, but mainly have a goal. Know where you want to be. And if you could apply that, I think that's what you do. Similar to, I think, what you were talking about.
It goes back to what I was saying, that one of the things that I usually say if you prepared, when opportunity comes and you prepare, you will have success. Opportunity can come and you're not.
Write it down. So, it's very good. Sure. Yeah. So, as you were saying, now that we've entered this whole new space of after COVID, we have to adapt, survive e-commerce. A lot of people don't know, like even in the township, a lot of people don't know anything about e-commerce. The most we know is that you can shop online, but people don't even know how to actually get to the shop, like to add to the carts, the basic thing. So since we're talking about intergenerational communication, I still have a hard time convincing my grandmother she can actually load airtime onto her phone. So how would you communicate the message to someone from the older generation? Like, you know what, we have to adapt now, we have to survive, we have to start using apps, phones to actually get your groceries instead of actually you having to go out with your arthritis, going to spa, coming back. Oh, my tongue! But there could have been an easier way to do that. But the thing is, she's not tech savvy. So how do we communicate
and that is a barrier.
That? How do we communicate that?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
It's an intergenerational barrier, right? It goes back to my saying that you don't know what you don't know, right? A lot of people have smartphones. Some don't know the full capacity of that smartphone. You know, nowadays you could have again, COVID showed us, you can work online completely. You don't have to be physically at your workplace.
Yeah.
You see, that showed us that we can do so much with our mobile devices and the fourth industrial revolution, all of that. How do we break that barrier? I think it's more like communicate. I divide the generations, right? There's your baby boomers, Gen Z, millennials, different ways of working by each type of employee. The millennials, they can work, they prefer short message, WhatsApp, all of that. They don't like face-to-face communication as much, compared to the other generations. The baby boomers, the ones that are about to reach retirement, they still prefer that physical communication, verification check, asking a question, what do you mean, explain, elaborate, And I think in an organization, it's about exploiting that. You said you don't like the word exploiting, but it's about utilizing that to get the best of both. There is no one system that works the best. It's about making things work in tandem to get a good outlet. All right. So if you see that this is a pro, this is a con, take the pro from there, cover it with the con of the other side. These guys aren't great with technology. These are great. Make them work together, empower them. That's how you get the best out of your organization, rather than being stagnant and not being organic, which is something you brought up, that an organization should be organic. Get the best, make people communicate and work together. You don't know the person at ground level who actually works with the product, maybe he has a better improvement that will reach the boardroom, that can be used.
Sure.
You never know. So it's being stagnant can kill a business. It's killed many stagnant. One thing I brought up was, because Lee mentioned that he was at FedEx, and I found that very interesting and relevant, because look at our post office system right now, right? The idea of being stagnant.
Yeah.
The end result, it's dysfunction, right? And that's not keeping up. And technology is a disruptor, can kill off a business, just like Kodak. Just like DVDs, there's a shop that just closed in PMB.
Yeah.
You see.
I used to go there as a kid. I had my first PlayStation at that shop.
And why couldn't they introduce, technology, things like streaming vouchers? If you have Netflix, you see, that's something we could have off the top of the head.
Right,
but they were like, no, we're going to stay with what we know, DVDs, cassettes. Look what technology did to them and advancements.
So if I can add to that.
That's all right.
And here's what I'm going to add.
Yeah.
What I just heard you talk about was things change. And what I heard you saying was, as things change, we don't all adapt.
Yes.
And if you don't all adapt, sometimes you're going to fall by the wayside. And sometimes it just means it takes you a little bit longer to adapt.
Exactly.
So if I consider... You can edit it all out.
Yeah.
So what I see it as being is there is a need for adaptation. And you talk about this, how do you teach somebody that's older how to use some new technology? The thing is, you mentioned it earlier on in the way that you spoke about it, but the way I speak about it would be slightly differently, and it would be this. Everything's a process. And it doesn't matter what that process actually is, so long as you can break that process down for people to be able to understand it more simply. If you take that, smartphones, as a for instance, people not knowing how to use everything on a smartphone, the reality of the situation is this. You don't need to know everything that the smartphone can do for you. You just need to know what you want it to do.
That function.
Yeah. So coming back to, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
But we do, as people, as human beings, we go out there to find out if it's of importance to us. Then we'll find out what we don't know, so we do know. And I'll always bring the simplest thing back down to this. If you really want something, you can get it. One of the things that for me as a child, and I think it's still the same today, is a lot of people want to get their driving license. But you don't know how to drive until you get in the car. And then somebody finds a way to teach you. But it doesn't matter what your age, you find the way that resonates with the individual that's in front of you that will help them to adapt.
That's the power of communication.
power of communication, but also understanding, as you quite rightly said, your different generations. So for instance, I didn't have to do a computer test to tell me where the dangers are going to be on the road. Okay? We did that by just driving the car down the road with somebody sitting beside me. Whereas today, safety becomes even more because there's more cars, so now we've got to adapt, so we've got to change the way we look at that. So if I was to do my driving test today, is there a good chance I may not pass? Probably. But would I pass? You're damn right I would, because it's something I want. It's something I want. Okay, it's on. We're back.
Okay, so we're back again after that light shower of rain. But so just to continue with the question, I think we got past the part of asking how do you introduce technology to the older generation and how do you but now I want to know a bit more about what actually drove you guys to your respective choices, your career choices. Like, what was the inspiration for you going into like working at FedEx or TNT and finding
I've got a fairly straightforward answer to that. So when I was a kid, probably around about 13, 14 years of age, I was living in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. My sister used to work for TNT, or as it was then, Skype. And you mentioned the post office earlier on because I mentioned FedEx. So here's the question I asked myself. If it only costs 50 cents to send a letter, why are people prepared to pay 150, as it was then, dirhams, to actually send the same thing? Why aren't they using the post office? And it was this. The perceived value of what they were sending needed an assurity that the postal service couldn't give. So what it taught me was, people are prepared to pay more for something that they believe will add value to their life or add value to their business. And that, as a question, intrigued me. So as soon as I left school, I knew that where I wanted to work. So again, set myself a goal. And with my sister's help, got a job with that organisation starting at the bottom. And then you start to see that from a very different perspective. Now it's a case of, do you want to stay there? Is this really what you want? And for me, it was an easy answer. It was, yes. I see the need, I see the benefit, I see the value, and I see how it can change lives. So I stayed with it for 30 years. Simple as.
Similar story. From a young age, I was in high school. So I'm now instructed because this is the guy who gets things done, right? So I do my first event. Back then there was a restaurant called Capello's.
Yeah, I remember Capello's.
Do my first event there, and then it's that first time experience where you're like, oh, people are coming through, people are paying, and they're supporting, they're getting behind that because they can see the value of it, just like you mentioned.
Yeah.
They're like, no, let's support him. He's gonna make this happen for us. This is what we could have gone with any other sort of gathering or anything, but we chose this one to support. Then that taste is addictive. You're like, wow, this is powerful. I can do this. You know, your confidence grows. So now from that level there, I want to learn more. I always wanna. Growing up, my dad believed that do things yourself so that you learn. Otherwise, you'll end up paying someone to do it for you, right? Hence why I sometimes look at myself as a jack of all trades, like whether it be carpentry, putting a door, electricity. I like to learn new things. So I apply the same sort of concept or same idea in my career, learning more. And it's powerful because each time that I make an attempt, I learn something new, and it saves me. It saves me money, because now you're not paying because you didn't know, you see. So it's very valuable. It's like, it goes back to this thing that knowledge is power.
Yes.
So from there on, I just kept growing, and I found myself in spaces. People are seeing that, no, this young guy, he's hungry. He's hungry to always wanting to do more, wanting to learn more. You know, I'm like a sponge. I like to just absorb everything and then attempt to do it. To the point now that I ended up doing from that thing, like it was probably 100, it was a grade, maybe 100, to a level where I can see 3,000, 5,000, 6,000 people. You see, that's growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bringing people together.
Bringing people together, and I enjoy that. You know, like it's growing up. It's something that I was exposed to at home when there's
Cool.
Turn it up. Just turn it up.
No, the thing is, the questions are here. That's the only phone I have.
But it's still recording.
Yeah, it's still recording.
So it's exposure to that at home when there's Umcimbi or an event. It's like, but it's not that loud thing.
Yeah, then you just reply to them, man. I mean, yeah, so keep going.
So yeah, it's exposure to that. People seeing that, no, this person is responsible. It's distracting.
You just tell him.
Who was it?
Just talk about, I think you're getting lost. Lee, I was actually going to come back to you before actually, but we interrupted. Let me just. Soba?
Hello.
Yes, what's up, man? Yeah?
Yes, I'm at the location, but I'm not sure.
Is the gate closed?
Area I'm supposed to enter.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Now my question for you and now oh, yes. We're still recording, right? We can take the show. Sorry, man. Where were you when the tracking number was first introduced? Were you there and actually, were you, had you started working already when, I don't know when exactly the tracking number thing was, the technology of tracking numbers, like for packages. Like as you said, people sometimes go for that service, go for that option because there's a value-added service. I don't think the post office had a tracking number.
No.
And I think FedEx or TNT, I think you guys have that actually had tracking number. So were you actually there when that technology was introduced?
No, I was there when that technology was already available.
So actually, I'll do some research as well. And when that was, but I'm going to continue with the more questions. But tell us a bit more about your time in. Sorry, man. No, actually, I'm going to find the questions to get back to you. So the business coach thing, like how did that come about, and what does it entail actually? Like how do you go about being a business coach?
So, I'm not really a business coach.
Oh, sorry.
I'm a management coach.
Management coach, sorry.
And what does it entail? It basically, I look at it slightly differently to most coaching. A lot of coaches you'll go to, they're good at what they do, they're great at what they do. They ask questions, and they ask questions of you to get you to go deeper into yourself so that you can establish what it is for yourself. I have a small issue with that, in that if you haven't had certain experiences, then there are certain things that you don't know. So I prefer to link coaching with mentoring. And the mentoring means that I can bring my experience to the table, and then we can have a discussion around that and see how that changes your view on how you want to move forward, how you want to improve, how you wish to develop. And the reason why I got into it was straightforward. My default character is I'm a perfectionist, which means that it can be quite hard sometimes for other people to realise that I'm not there to try and harm you, I'm just trying to give you the fact that this is how things could be done and could be improved. And for me, it can come from a lot of people. They could see that as being quite dictatorial. I'm being told what to do, I'm not learning for myself. So I get that. But I've got this other side to my character, which is about, if I'm helping others first, it gives me more satisfaction if I'm just helping myself. Which brings us back into that very South African belief of Ubuntu. Okay, I am because we are. So for me, and my slogan for my business, my small practice, is very straightforward. Helping you help yourself, enabling you to help others.
That's what about to get to that.
It's like that saying, if you can take a horse to water.
But you can't teach it how to drink.
Yeah.
So for me, how did I get into it? I got into it because I wanted to help people advance their careers. And I don't really care who you are, I don't care about your social background. It was just about helping other people to achieve what they wanted to achieve. In the same way that I achieved what I wanted to achieve, which was through having purpose, dedication, focus, and just making sure that this is really what you want. So I got into coaching and management coaching and mentoring by just having 30 years of experience in corporate that I could apply to many different situations, and being able to help other people realise that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Because in the system of the learning curve, with that much experience, he's already here. You starting out are here, so you might as well learn from there. You see, it's valuable experience.
I was actually going to get to, when I got here I was late actually, as you know, I was late. Oh.
That was more than two.
We're not going to edit that out. We're going to keep that part. We're keeping that.
What, me communicating with the kids?
Yes, that's non-verbal communication right there.
No, that's a 55-year-old in a child's body. Or a child in a 55-year-old's body.
So when I got you, really, what I liked about actually when I saw you guys, actually, like, you guys were already in conversation without me having to introduce you.
Well, when you arrived late?
Yeah, when I arrived late.
Don't punish the punctual, that's why we started the conversation.
Exactly. And when I got you, like, I was out of the conversation because you guys had already established so much, I don't know, there was so much learning going on. And I was like, you know what, don't disturb these two, let them go. Because actually now I want to know is, since you've only met each other for like, it's been an hour or two right now, two hours. What have you guys learned from each other? Like,
can I start at a different point? Is that okay?
Yeah,
can I start at a
fine.
different point?
That's fine.
I don't think it's necessarily what you're going to learn from each other. That's something that you can only have happen if you're open to that. And it's how you start, the base from where you come from, that's more important for me. So the basis was this: trust. And that is something that we are sorely lacking today. So if you can start with a point of trust, i.e. trust being, whatever this person has to say, be open to it, because this is who they are.
Let me extend on that point.
Because that's where we started.
To show how practical that is. When I arrived, he arrived first, right? Lee arrived here. I arrived late. He was like already going somewhere, right? He was like, no, park your car here and let's go with this guy. I'm like, okay, why is this guy trusting me to be in the same car as him? Where does he know me from? But believe it or not, after that ride, when we came back, we were having some other discussions. We were already planning so much for this area in that short 10-minute trip. So that was that's one of the examples that happened right now. And we even elaborated on that. We started speaking about the problem in society today, that is this distrust and not wanting to work together. There's that thing of like, I don't want to bring race so early right now, but like even amongst black people, like no, those are not one of us. They're not that type of black people.
So don't bring race.
Yeah, you see.
It's just a case of, this isn't my community.
Yeah.
This is another community.
Yeah.
How can I trust that other community? I do not know them.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where it starts.
And you can't do business with, or anything with distrust. You'll never progress.
And you didn't know the business partners you were going into business with before you met them.
Exactly.
Before they were allowed to trust you through the trust that you gave to them first.
To a point, they end up trusting you with their money. When people are able to trust you with your money, with their money, that's something.
So for me, it wasn't really about that. It wasn't really about, what conversations we were getting into, why we were getting into it. Because I'll always start from the basis of trust and not distrust. So going back to that thing, whether it be intergenerational,
And it is intergenerational.
Yeah.
whether it be inter-community, go in there with an open mind and try and find out and learn from what that's about before you judge it, which is why I don't want to bring race into it. And the reason why I don't want to bring race into it is because of this. Racism starts because of distrust between different races. Within inside of the same race, distrust starts because of mistrust of another community, whether that be a political party, it doesn't matter what it is. So, humanity for me, really, if you want to help somebody else, and if that's what you want to do, you want to help the community, trust first. Never allow yourself to get to that point of hate, because that's what happens.
Very toxic.
It is toxic. So you've got to trust, and that's how we started. That's how I think we'll continue to go on.
Because it's very important in business. From a business side of things, I always say that money has no color. Sorry, it sounds capital. I'm not that deep, but I'm just showing
It's
you.
not all green.
Money, it doesn't matter whether it comes from an Indian, an Arab, a white or black. 100 rand is 100 rand. Finish
Same
it,
value.
klar, you see. And you end up seeing that, oh no, we need each other even though we distrust each other.
So that trust would be would it be a perceptual barrier?
It is.
Without a doubt.
It is.
So we perceive that person, or we assume,
We assume. As of you and me.
Yeah, we make an ass of you and me.
Yeah.
And then that guy, I don't trust him. Why? Hey, those people. Hey, those guys.
So again, if you think about that as a conversation between, as we said, forget about that, break it down. If you think about that as a conversation between different generations, just because you're older doesn't mean to say you know more. You just know something different. Just because you're younger and you're more tech savvy doesn't say you know more. You just know something different. How we then educate each other on bridging the divide between our differences is all created through trust. Because now, as an older person, I trust you, a younger person, to be able to help me. And, as you quite rightly say, as an older person with a younger person, I'm trusting you to bring me up to here, which helps me at another starting level. So, it cannot be underestimated.
It cannot. Trust is so important for that intergenerational barrier. Yeah.
I think we have to, like at the end of the day, we have to admit, like us, like me personally, grandma, I live,
Gogo.
Yeah, Gogo. I used to live with Gogo. Like now I live alone. And we had these little arguments. And you can see there was not like anything major, but it was because we just had this, we had different states of thinking. And the thing is, it's slowly also teaching each other. Because Gogo would be like all the time, man, kids, what happened here? That means a person not painted, which means like a person is real. They will do things to you. And I would be like, but Gogo, you gotta have a bit more faith.
In a person's mind. Another example that's powerful, because I like elaborating with examples. There's this experiment, because one of my majors was psychology. There's this experiment that they did in a cinema. It was a cold day, pretty much like this, and in between the clips, I think they call it operant conditioning. In the clips, they kept showing Coca-Cola in a movie. Quick flash, you don't even notice it, right? Boom, bam, in your face. Outside the cinema, the reception area, there's hot chocolate, because it's a cold day being served. There's Coca-Cola this side. Majority of the people bought Coca-Cola. Okay? And that applies in everything. Psychology, things merge. Psychology and marketing. To be a great marketer, you need to apply as many things as possible. Same thing, ask yourself why in a shop the fridge is laid out this way. Why are the spices in an aisle that's brown and red colors? All of that applies. Another example was, what was it? KFC, the smell. Suddenly, just like the dog Pavlov's law, smell,
We know.
memory, you're suddenly hungry. You were gonna survive until 8 p.m., but now you wanna stop for what? For KFC. Same with McDonald's, the logo is breasts upside down, in case you didn't know.
Really?
Yes, so when you see in a corner there, you see they're the only franchise also that has an outside stand with an M. Ask yourself, why do they still put that useless M out there? Why? Because that's where you
That's
you
where
look,
we are.
and you're like, that's food. You see? And you can't do business with, or anything with distrust. You'll never progress.
And you didn't know the business partners you were going into business with before you met them.
Exactly.
Before they were allowed to trust you through the trust that you gave to them first.
To a point, they end up trusting you with their money. When people are able to trust you with your money, with their money, that's something.
So let's broaden that circle out. For you, for me, for anybody else, who do you really trust? And it's a very small group of individuals. And one of the things that I see is, how can we get beyond that? How can we get to a point whereby we can first trust everybody until we're proven wrong? So for me, it's a change in mindset. We are always going to trust close friends, close family. If we have religion, then it will be our religion, through the pastor and through our belief in whichever God we decide to worship. But ultimately, it's still coming down to, it's a small community.
And all those people in that circle, the reason why she trusts them is communication.
There we go.
Without that communication, probably the friends that she doesn't trust, it's because they don't communicate properly.
Or don't communicate honestly.
Honestly,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's no transparency.
Exactly.
Because every Sunday she's at church, you know, she's there. Every day she sees me, she sees her daughters, she sees her son. So those are the people that she is in constant communication. Her friends, too old to come and visit every day. So she wouldn't put faith on those people.
But now in an area like this, right, in Mpophomeni, how many community gatherings occur here? And for progressive purposes, besides the church and everything, what else occurs? Like that museum, that's why I was asking about the museum, the parks.
Yeah.
Where do people gather if it's not church or if it's not a drinking place or a tavern?
I'd like to actually bring in some of my friends who actually live with me. Guys, what would you say about that? Like, Fanele's question right now. How many do you have?
Just to add on to what he has said,
Yeah.
in terms of social engagement and social activities, he's really right. He's on the right track because he's stating, if you're not at church, or you're not at a tavern, there's no other space or platform to engage with other people, to socialize. So he's quite right there. That is why I tend to focus on events that are food-based. So there are other activities way beyond the scope of religion and drinking. So
Exactly.
you want another platform.
come closer, maybe so the mic can hear you as well.
Exactly.
And then just introduce yourself a bit. Sorry. No,
And you're going to need to be a lot closer because the microphone's
Oh,
pointing at us at the
yeah,
moment.
let me just, I think it's fine. But I think what Fanele, right?
Yeah, Fanele.
Fanele said is quite right, because socially, here, if you look around, the activities that are happening are only religious-based. They're only based to the entertainment industry where it's alcohol involved, taverns. So we need to actually go beyond the scope of
Beyond
those
that,
things.
like you said, with the food.
Yeah, like I'm in the
Something
food industry.
universal
Yeah,
as
you
food
know,
is powerful.
food is a great platform for people to engage.
Everyone
on,
has to eat.
brings people together.
It's one of those
That's
core
what I can
things.
add on. Definitely.
And if I can just ask a slightly different question to that then. If you haven't got access to that, how else could you create a broadening of your community? Where else could you meet?
Online.
Why not?
Exactly.
Oh, well, we've got a Wi-Fi problem with inside of the township as well. Yes. Okay, so maybe it doesn't always work that way. So going back to the fact that we were talking about other generations being more online and not having that physical one-on-one communication face-to-face, how else could you create a face-to-face meeting if you don't have a place to meet? Where else could you possibly meet? Without food, without drink.
Okay. Well, for me, for a person who's been within the youth development spheres, one of the concepts was, let us have youth clubs where people can, each one can have a youth club, because it's more of a platform of development and social engagement and whatever activity that one needs to develop within the space of Mpophomeni. So beyond the food scope, youth clubs were another platform where people can physically meet, and we can even share in terms of mentoring and leadership styles and stuff like that. So yeah, we've had concepts, but it's just of the wheel of getting things done with the different disciplines of Mpophomeni. Yeah, there's a lot of things that come to play.
It's so powerful because it even conquers social ills.
Yes.
If people are gathering in these clubs, they end up knowing each other. Less violence. You're not gonna harm a person that you know.
Exactly.
You're not gonna go. We have issues where people fight. They stab each other. Those issues.
Yeah, we lost a friend yesterday. Got stabbed.
You see, but now had people known each other, I know him from there. We do this club. We're going through the same ideology. Chances of you guys stabbing each other are gonna be low.
You're creating a community.
You're creating a community, and I feel like the lack of that is such a devastating effect.
So bringing people together in a youth club, that's another area. Okay, again, let's say we've got no money. Let's say we've got nothing. How else can we bring that community together? Where else could you meet?
Zero budget.
Well, for me, I've worked a lot of projects from a zero-based budget perspective, where we need to look at what can we do without money, where money is not a necessity to actually be practical on that project. Like for simple stuff like hiking on a mountain, meeting up and taking a hike. That is a social activity on its own. You're out there in nature, you're relaxing, you get to be in your natural state. It's more of a neutral environment. You can then choose to interact with whomever that is in front of you. Those are simple things that people can do.
That's how we first actually got
on a social basis. That's what me and him were doing. Getting to know each other, being out there, just socializing. There was no money involved, no certain tasks to be solved, or just a matter of socializing and getting to know each other. Just to add on to the trust issue that you were talking about earlier on, the more you socialize with a person, the more trust that is built there because of that social engagement. You get to know, if this person is aware of this and that, and then you also aware of the same thing, it creates a form of security.
You can end up doing things without even needing money.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you trust you.
We've removed now, if it's trying to remove the physical barrier to communication.
And that is exactly it. If you want to really break it down, it comes down to how did I meet Spa, how did I meet Timberland? Okay? We went on a hike. Did I know where we were going? Did I know how far? Did I know what we were going to do? No. Did I know why I was doing it? Yes. And my purpose was very straightforward. I want to get to know these guys. I want to know what goes on in Mpophomeni Township from their perspective. So we went on a 14-kilometer hike. Okay? And you're taking this guy who's not even a South African, he comes from the first freaking world, and you're getting him to drink out of rivers. But he trusted you not to give him cholera, not to give him typhoid. He trusted you because you guys can suffer from that as well. So I trusted. And what did we do? We went.
All I need is your love tonight. All I need is your love tonight. When you're tired, when you're lonely, you can just reach out and on.
No, I'll be there. I'll help you weather the storm.
Us together, nothing's ever felt more like home.
No, I'll be there.
You will never be alone.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
You can take everything away from me, but not people. I have a faith. Wangumuli mumfowethu.
Is your love tonight? All I need is your love tonight. 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 All I need is your love tonight.